Guys, thank you so much for doing this.
That was nice of us, yes.
It was. So, 45 years in, a director's cut? Like, why mess with perfection? What are you doing?
Well, the director's cut thing, that's a complete scam. You know, Jerry and Jim and I, you know, we have done several of these screenings. And we watch the movie and we say, oh, this could go faster. So we actually cut 2 minutes out of it. So that's what happened.
So you added nothing, you only took
We added nothing. You know, that's the thing about, additional materials for comedy, you know, deleted scenes. Well, they're deleted because they weren't funny. And so we would preview the movie. And we you know, cut out everything that wasn't funny, and so that's what. But it would still, there was still some cool scenes that in those days Paramount would throw them away, so they're lost. But on the DVD, they're still, you know, they still have some deleted scenes on them that they did save for some reason.
Yeah, they wanted to add scenes, but they threw them away. So. The director's cut. When Coppola did his, I think he showed the film to the folks at 20th, and they said, you got to cut out 10 minutes, or something like that, 5 or 10 minutes. So he went back and looked at it, and he said, yeah, he added 12 minutes. And then he came back and played it, and they said, you see? So they don't know. They don't know.
But this was kind of your process when you made the film. My understanding is that you showed it to all college audiences.
Yes.
And that sort of informed the final round of editing on the film, right?
Well, you know, the first preview, actually the first time we ever showed it was to Michael Eisner, the president of Paramount, at his home screening room. And he loved it. And mostly, you know, we could hear his kids, who were like 9. That's who the movie is meant for. And they were cackling behind in the projection booth. And Eisner just jumped up and said, "This is great, I love it." And and he didn't seem to know anything about it. He said, "What was the budget? Where did you shoot it?"
This is the head of the studio.
Yeah, he's at 30,000 feet. And, well, actually, Hays didn't know anything either, but, yeah, so what did we do? I had to explain it. But, so we said, well, we have to go out and preview it first. And he said, what do you mean? We wanted to recut it, because we knew that there was probably too much in it. So he said, no, it's perfect. So we said, no, we have to preview. We want to take it out to colleges. We said, you can't take it off the lot until you screen it for the Paramount executives. So we had to screen it for like 20 Paramount executives, and we knew that would be death, you know, in a screening room. So we insisted that Paramount's audience recruitment guy, you know, get an audience. So comes time for the screening, you know, it's about 20 minutes, and there's just the 20 studio executives. There's nobody there. The guy he was completely incompetent and couldn't recruit anybody. So Jim and Jerry and I went out onto Melrose Boulevard and started pulling people out of the lines for Happy Days in Laverne and Shirley. And so we had a half-filled audience. I don't think that English was the first language to tell a lot of these people. And so the movie played, and it just was terrible. It bombed. It was obviously a failure. It's like, so fortunately, Katzenberg and Eisner were such great cheerleaders. They said, "Don't worry about it. You know, we'll go. We'll take it out." And Eisner said, "I get it. You gotta preview it for actual humans, not studio executives." So, and that's what we did. That's kind of a long explanation of that, but
Was that when the reel?
That was then. There was a premiere, and there was the projectionist. Yeah, the projectionist. Oh, thank you. Yeah, the projectionist switched the reels. So
switched the reels, and Jim went running up there, and he said, "You've got the wrong reel on." And the guy was over having a cigarette, and he said, "What?" And he said, "You got the wrong reel. You put on reel 5." before 4 or 3 before. I mean, it was just a mess. He said, huh? And then finally,
Jim says, I'm the director.
No, I know what I'm doing. I'm a projectionist. Well, I'm the director, and I know this is wrong. And so then Jim started to try to get it off the thing. The guy said, wait a minute, I'll do it. And then got into it, and the whole thing, the audience was sitting there wondering, what is going on? Because the scene started with something else, so it didn't set it up properly.
Well, it was funny. Jim's reaction was, well, this movie's really clipping along. and then somebody said after the movie, somebody went up to Jerry and said, you know, the movie was great. We really liked it, but you shouldn't have had the shit hitting the fan twice. So we got the idea to do Airplane from a 1957 black and white movie called 0 Hour. And, you know, the series had the same plot, but we also, I mean, we like comedies sometimes, but more we like to go and watch serious movies and then dub in our own lines. Like, you know, we do jokes like, it's not great, but, you know, very serious, you know, the plane's supposed to land, and they said, what time is the plane coming in? You know, it's 0800 hours, and we dub in, where's your hand? It's right here at the end of my wrist. And you know, this stuff like, and so we were going to redub 0 Hour. That was the first idea, and then one of us just had the idea, why don't we just remake the movie with serious actors? And that became the fresh idea.
And apparently you had a screenplay for Airplane based on 0 Hour years before making the film, right? Because one of my favorite stories in the book is that you sent your adaptation of 0 Hour to Robert Stack's representation.
Right, we did a very early version of it, which had Beaver Cleaver flying down the plane, which would have put you out of a job. But, you know, it was a very, you know, we didn't know what we were doing, but we did know how to put the jokes in. We didn't know what a plot was, but fortunately, 0 Hour had one. But we knew from the start that the role of Kramer had to be played by Robert Stack. So we just, you know, we're like these kids from Milwaukee. We called up his agent and said, well, we did Kentucky Fried Theater, and we wrote a script, and we want Robert Stack to do it. And he said, the guy says, is this a go picture? And we said, what's a go picture? And he said, come back when you have the money. And so, you know, we still couldn't raise the money for Airplane. It was actually called Kentucky Fried Airplane at the time, the first script. And so we decided we'd do Kentucky Fried Movie first, just to kind of get the experience. And John Landis directed that, and we kind of were on the set. We'd never been on a movie set before, and we kind of learned how to direct from John Landis. Yeah, so, and then after Kentucky Fried Movie, then we went back, rewrote the Airplane script. And also we knew that not only could we direct it, but we had to direct it. So we had to hold out. And Paramount, when we got to Paramount, they shopped the script around to all these Hollywood directors, and we kept saying, no, we wouldn't do that. We had to do it.
All right, now let's just back up a second, because you talk about being, you know, kids from Milwaukee. How did your unit first come together?
Well, Jerry and I grew up in the same house. And then Jim, actually the Abrams and the Zuckers were very close family friends. Our fathers were in real estate business together. It was called Abrahams and Zucker Real Estate. Oh. And our sisters were roommates, and our moms were friends, and they would come over for dinner, and Jerry and Jim and I would end up in the basement rec room playing ping pong, and we kind of bonded over that. So that's how we got together. And then after college, you know, we were able to find some videotape equipment, which, you know, these big, you know, reel-to-reel Sony decks, which that was how you did video then. And so I was able to borrow some of that, and we started a theater called Kentucky Fried Theater, which combined the video bits. We did video spoofs of commercials and live sketches, and some improv, but we weren't really interested in improv.
How did Kentucky Fried Movie come about, and talk about what you took from that experience that pushed you towards Airplane?
Well, it was a lower budget, so we could actually raise the money. But even that, we had to put in about $25,000 into making a short in 35 millimeter of 4 of these sketches that would be in Kentucky Fried Movie, and that we showed around to all the studios, and they still turned it down. And then we had a friend who was part of an exhibitor chain, and he said, I can get you the money for this if I show this to my friends in San Francisco who own, it was United Artists Theater Circuit. And so what they did, smart, they played it in their theaters for a crowd, and they saw that the audience laughed. So then we got the money. And that's how Kentucky Fried Movie came about. It was a $600,000 budget and probably made 20 million, something like that. So, yeah.
And it started your career, and it started John Landis's career.
It started John Landis's career, right? Yeah. So, and we learned a lot from him. He added a lot of jokes to it. But I think there was a lot of things that we thought we would have done different. But by the end of that, we thought we were ready to direct. And so we were very, self-confident, very, very headstrong.
But when you think about Kentucky Fried Movie, 2 of the biggest comedy blockbusters of that period, and I think still at that time, came on the heels of Kentucky Fried Movie. So Landis's next film was Animal House, and you guys did Airplane.
Airplane, yeah. So it came out of that. So.
All right. So how does it get to Paramount? How does Airplane get to Paramount?
Well, the script was being turned down by everyone, and evidently Michael Eisner, the head of Paramount, was having dinner with somebody and asked if they had, this lady who was a reader for United Artists, and he asked if she had read anything good lately, and she said, well, there's one script that's a comedy on an airplane, done by the guys who did Kentucky Fried Movie. And Eisner, as the story goes, he kind of lit up. He excused himself from the table. And in those days, you didn't have cell phones, so he actually had to make a call from a payphone to Jeff Katzenberg saying, have these guys in my office on Monday. And so we got the call from Katzenberg.
And when did it occur to you that the 3 of you as a unit because had that ever been done?
No, I don't think anybody had a 3-man
directing team.
Yeah, directing team. So, and plus we were first time directors, and so this was a steep mountain to climb. So finally, I think we were almost going to go with another studio with. It was called Avco Embassy at the time, and so for some reason Paramount thought, okay, we'll let you guys direct, and so that was it.
Now, just in terms of process, this is for either one of you. What is the process of 3 people directing at once?
Well, you can't all scream at the actors at the same time. So although we felt like it, but but
it's basically.
Pretty much. Yeah, this is how it worked. Yeah, and that worked very smoothly. And what happened was that we divided the labor. Yeah.
So that's what it's like.
That's what it was.
So let's talk about, to me, maybe one of the most genius aspects of Airplane, and there's many to talk about, but I really want to get into the casting of this film. And I'm going to go sort of part by part. And by the way, we have some audience questions as well, because and we got a lot of questions about various actors. but I just want to go, because it's written with a very specific tone and vision. So let's start with the role of Ted Stryker. Ted Stryker.
Yes, Ted Stryker's the one you played.
Oh,
So,
I forgot. It's been 45 years.
Yeah. More than that.
so who did you have in mind for the role, and who did you audition?
Well, outside of Jerry Manders, I think we kind of started from scratch. And actually, one of the actors we had in mind in the beginning, before Kentucky Fried Movie even, was Charlie Martin Smith. For some reason, he was, and nobody even remembers, but
He was in American Graffiti.
yeah,
He was totally
yeah, I
American
never
Graffiti.
told you that. Yeah. Anyways,
I didn't know that.
but once we were casting at Paramount, then we auditioned a lot of actors, and occasionally we'd get suggestions from the studio, which we were not in favor of. Like they wanted to put in Chevy Chase or Bill Murray, and those guys are very funny, but we didn't want a comedian, a known comic for the movie. And then, it got worse. We then we heard they wanted Barry Manilow. True story. And so, and we were all ready to quit, and we'll walk. And,
Well, he's not a comedian.
So, and also, Howard Koch, our executive producer, was very good at this stuff, and he would call their agents and say, "These are 3 young guys who've never directed before. You don't want to do this." But the other one who came in, and the studio was kind of high on, was Bruce Jenner, and for some reason,
For Ted.
for Ted Stryker, and
Over and over, right?
well, for some reason, somebody was behind this. Somebody wanted him in the movie, so he came in twice to read, and then 3 times in all. And the 3rd time, he came in to read for Elaine, I guess. So this is way ahead of its time. I didn't realize we were very naive at the time, but.
It was just a little indication that it might go another way.
Now, you say you didn't want a comedian, but a rather famous comedian did screen test for the part.
Oh yeah, well, we were fans of David Letterman, and we had seen him at the Comedy Store, and kind of he was an acquaintance, and so we had him in to read. He was great, very funny guy, and then he didn't really want to be an actor, and I understood that, but we screen tested him anyways. So we have this great screen test with David Letterman doing the scene where it's in the hospital where there's a spit take, and then so we were on Letterman in a year after Airplane was released. We were all on Letterman's show, and we played the screen test for him, and he just wasn't an actor, didn't feel comfortable acting.
It was wasn't his agent? His agent said, "You don't want him. He's not an actor."
Right. Well,
It's his own agent.
Yeah. What happened was his agent was on set, and he's standing next to my brother, and Jerry says, "Well, I think we can make an actor out of him yet." And the agent said, "Fat chance." So
When he left, apparently on his way back out to his car in the parking lot, he told you later, he was saying, please don't let him cast me in this.
Oh yeah, so Jerry calls him and said, "You didn't get the part," and he said, "Oh, thank you." He was so happy not to get the part.
Well, he's so funny. I mean, how many people here really actually know David Letterman?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's so funny, but he's a comedian, and comedians like to tell the joke, and they don't want to say, "Cut, okay, let's go again, tell the joke again." You've done it, so you want to tell something different.
But he does get your sensibility. If you can find their appearance, the 3 of them, on the late night show, I love when you you guys were on, because so they cut to commercial every time between little segments, and they came wearing one sport coat and they had one pair of glasses, and every time they cut away and came back, a different member of the team is wearing the sport coat and the glasses. Then they showed the clip, and then David Letterman is wearing this one sport coat and wearing the glasses.
And he didn't know what we were going to do when we came out there. In fact, I think I had a fake mustache on when I came out. And then the next break, I think Jerry was wearing it. So, yeah.
So, Bob, when did you become aware then that this script existed and they were casting for this role?
My agent had a new agent, a woman named Beth Foyke that came into his office as a new agent in the office, and she called Howard when she was reading about, looking at the breakdowns and what's going on, and she called Howard and said, "I've got your Ted Stryker." And now by this time, you've been all over the country.
Yeah, we went to New York, and we couldn't find it.
Chicago, Minneapolis, even Seattle.
But so they showed us all.
They had to pay extra because it's a lot further away. It's much further than New York. It's not. Okay.
But Howard showed us a picture of this guy, Robert Hays, yeah. And we said, well, he looks good, but can he talk? So we had him in, and you read, and it was good.
Some of the casting, and I'm really going to get into sort of this white-hot core of these actors that were not known for comedy. Some of this casting is so inventive and so ingenious. First of all, talk about the actors that you had in mind, including the ones that you approached and who passed, and sort of how you wound up casting some of these actors who, again, had not only not been known for comedy, but may have not even believed they had any facility for it.
Well, we were going for bigger names. We tried George Kennedy, Vincent Price, Jack Webb. Yeah, we met with Jack Webb, and who was...
I think Jack Webb was also originally offered the part of Dean Wormer in Animal House, and turned that down too.
Well, yeah, but Vincent Price said his biggest career regret was turning down Airplane. So, but we lucked out. We had Leslie Nielsen and Leslie. I thank you for Leslie, but he's dead. But Leslie was so keyed into this kind of comedy. He read the script, he loved it immediately, and he said to his agent, "I want to do this. Don't tell them this, but I would pay them to do this." So we had Leslie in for a meeting, and Leslie was our fourth choice. He was, he wasn't really well known.
Casting directors would tell you.
Oh yeah, well, he was such a B actor or C level actor that when we came in and we said, how about we can get this guy Leslie Nielsen, and our casting director, who was already on edge because his name was going on a comedy movie where it was Robert Stack and Lloyd Bridges and Peter Griffin, so he would be drummed out of the business for this. So he finally lost it. He said, Leslie Nielsen's the guy you cast the night before, and we were 3 weeks away still from photography. So, but we met him, and he was great, and he really wanted to partner, so he wanted to kind of, tell us that he had some experience. So he said, I did a MASH episode once, and we look at each other and go, we'll pretend you didn't say that.
But you wound up reinventing his career.
Yeah, well, it was great for Leslie. Yeah,
he told me that, because we were sitting talking on the set about it, and he said, I love this insanity. I've always wanted to do this insanity, but I was afraid to do it. And I said, really? He said, yeah. He said, I get up close to it sometimes, but the way I look at it is I got up to the door, but the boys pushed me through it. And he was a closet comedian. Oh yeah. And he brought this little diaphragm fart machine onto the set, and he would, with a very straight face, he would talk to somebody and go,
and that's what he, and pretty soon he was selling them to all the crew members. And so, and it was causing chaos, and so, and we were almost not going to make our days because everybody was doing the stuff, and so
Because then like David said, he bought a box and was selling them to actors and the crew. And so, I don't know how many people are familiar with the way they run it on a set. They'll yell out for the film, when it was filmed, to start rolling. So they'll say, roll camera, and then they turn it on and it has to get up to speed. And then the same with the sound, they roll the sound. So they say, roll sound, and you would hear, speed. And then you say, roll camera, and they say, speed. And finally, Jerry was out there with the camera with us, and he said, okay, stop it. He said, get those things off the set. And there was pure silence. And Leslie, way over the side after about 5 seconds, went,
so, and we cast him because we thought he had absolutely no sense of humor.
And from what I understand, he was diabolical with his use. Like, he was trying to make you break, right?
well, in the scene in the cockpit, when they say, can you fly this plane? I say, surely you can't be serious. The first time when I say that. And he says, I am serious, don't call me Shirley. And then it's a 3-shot of Lorna Patterson and Leslie and me. So then they did the 2-shot of them. And he's a good boy all this time. But then they turned the camera on me. And so it's my single. And the whole time he's saying, Mr. Stryker, can you land this plane? I had to keep a straight face. And that was the hardest day of the whole filming for me.
And my understanding is that even when cameras weren't rolling, Julie, I guess, tells a story that like, one day the Paramount executives were on set.
Yeah, well, I mean, he was relentless, and it didn't matter. It didn't matter to him to the point where he told me about, he loved golf, and he was playing a golf tournament at Little Rock in Little Rock, Arkansas. And the mayor of Little Rock had a party for the celebrities that were in the golf tournament. And as they're sitting there, the mayor's mother was sitting next to him. And he goes over to Leslie and says, Leslie, my mother is sitting over here and would just love to meet you. He said, well, that'd be fine. Excuse me, I'll be right back. And they walk over there and he says, Mother, this is Mr. Leslie Nielsen. And he said, well, it's nice to meet you. And her eyes got big, and the mayor was looking at him, and Leslie just smiled.
The story that I heard that Julie told is that these high-powered Paramount executives are visiting the set and everybody's nervous, and this Julie walks past and he goes, oh, Julie. She was mortified, apparently. So now, Peter Graves, I understand.
He didn't have that partnership.
Oh, no, he didn't. But I hear that his reaction to being offered this film was not what you had hoped.
Well, no, the story is, we heard he read it and he just threw the script across the room and said, this is the worst piece of trash I've ever read. And then, years later, when I had more experience directing, I realized that when actors get a script, they only read their own parts. And to Peter, it may have appeared that he was playing a funny pedophile. So Howard got him in to meet with us, and he was expecting a few just drug-crazed, lunatics, and we were pretty preppy, not too long out of Milwaukee. So he decided that, okay, we'll take a chance.
I do understand that he was happy he did the film, but there was a story about speaking to a child in a grocery store, and the mother, I guess, had seen the film and just ushered the child away.
And Bob has a story about when Peter Graves met your dad.
Well, it was at the screening at the DGA, and my dad, like I mentioned, he was a Marine fighter pilot, 6'3", and my little 5'2" mom. And I brought them along as my guests to see the film. And this was just all big, new time stuff for me, brand new for them. And so I looked at Peter and I thought, oh, they know Peter Graves because Mission Impossible and all of these things we watched all the time. And I said, Peter, I said, I'd like you to meet my folks. This is my dad. And I thought Peter would be impressed. Well, Colonel John Hays. And he said, well, Colonel. And I said, my mom, Abby Hays. And he said, how do you do? And then they said, exchanged pleasantries. And Dad was never one that was, would just talk. If you finish what you have to say, then that's kind of pretty much it. So they're standing there, and I'm thinking, what do you got? So, Peter, hi, what you been doing lately? And he says, yeah, well, everything's just good. It's fine. I'm sort of a hankering for little boys lately. And I turned to my folks, and Dad's eyes were like that, my mom was like that. And I said, no, it's the movie. It's the movie. We're going to go and see the movie now. You don't. And they was like, what? And later they got
Excuse me, I'm so sorry. Hang on. Forgive me, I have to take this. I'll be right back. I'm so sorry. I'll be right back.
Well, should we answer the questions or ask the questions? Let's see, how was it working with a really talented director?
It was really, really great. I mean, Jerry and Jim. Do you think there's a moderator out here?
Yeah, anybody have any moderating experience? We need a moderator, I think. We need a moderator.
Maybe someone that knows how to fly a plane?
Yeah. Is this their idea of a moderator? I don't know.
I never have known for sure, does he speak English?
I think you may have to blow on the...
Please talk about getting Barbara Billingsley.
That's another one of these things, where our first choice was Harriet Nelson. And we actually had a meeting with Harriet Nelson, but I think some of the script was too...
Harriet Nelson is Ozzie and Harriet.
Ozzie and Harriet. It was a little bit risque for her.
I met her. She came, for some reason, she was over there at the set of Angie, and I met her. She was one of the sweetest women you could ever possibly meet. Who remembers Ozzie and Harriet?
Yeah.
Some of them. Yeah, but she was so sweet. And when I met her, she said, I almost played that role of, And she said, but I was just so afraid of some of the word, but I'm so sorry I didn't do it.
Oh, another one, yes.
Like Vincent Price.
Yeah. But, so our next choice was Barbara Billingsley, so June Cleaver, so. And, she's so billed the bill as the whitest lady on the planet. and these two guys that played the dudes, they taught her phonetically how to say those words.
Al White.
Al White and Norm Gibbs. Yeah. And in fact, they wrote all their own dialogue. We didn't. All we could do, these white Jewish kids from Milwaukee, all we knew was mofo, she, I don't know what it we didn't know anything. So they kind of said, let us handle it. And they wrote the whole thing. And I think Al White looked up all this dialogue in books about the dialogue.
And then they coached her.
And they coached her, and they wrote their own lines. And as did Steven Stucker, wrote his own lines.
Oh wow, you guys know who Steven Stucker is, right?
So Steve Stucker was the piano player in our Kentucky Fried Theater show. And so we knew we had to put him in Airplane. And so, like, for instance, the press conference dialogue, we knew what the questions were. We just didn't know how to write his answers. So we called him up on the phone while we were writing the Airplane. And we said, you know, what kind of plane is it? And he says verbatim, oh, it's a big, pretty white plane, wheels and red stripes. It looks like a big tile of white. And we just typed it. And all of the things. What can you make out of this? Well, I can make a hat. That was done on our Kentucky Fried Theater stage. Yeah, we did that. Yeah.
All right. What about getting Ethel Merman?
Yeah!
It's well, Howard. You know, you can get anyone. I mean, everybody wants to be in a movie eventually. So,
I mean, that is we need to give some credit to the great Howard W. Koch.
Howard Koch, yeah.
He was the producer of the Manchurian Candidate. Like, he was this very prestigious, great...
And the president of the Motion Picture Academy. And one of the
Oscars every year.
The Oscars, and one of the conditions that Paramount put to us is, okay, we'll let you guys direct, but there's 2 conditions. You have to take our producer, past president of the studio, Howard W. Koch. We didn't know who Howard Koch was, but and the second provision was they could fire us after 3 weeks. So, and we were fine with being fired, but we didn't know who Howard was, but he turned out to be, you know, our man at Paramount. They meant him to be, you know, their guy on our set.
So
he was amazing.
How did he get Ethel Merman?
Oh, Howard knew everybody. I mean, that's how he got Peter Graves. Howard knew Peter. Howard knew Robert Stack. He knew all these guys, and so I don't know the details of it, but I imagine he called Ethel and said, Ethel, I've got a picture for you. I don't know, what do people say in Hollywood?
Something just like an old Hollywood.
Yeah, no,
I've got a picture for you, Ethel.
Yeah, I don't know. Is there some story in the book that I'm forgetting?
No.
Okay.
I was just curious.
You're making this up.
I should have made something up, I'm sorry.
Yeah, right.
I'm going to cross out the Ethel Merman.
Yeah, cross out the Ethel Merman. There's no big story. We just said we want Ethel Merman, she showed up.
You know what? We'll show this to a college audience and then we'll cut this.
But all she wanted to do was her only provision. She wanted her own hairdresser, and we said fine. And so she has this very nice 1960s
Ethel Merman.
Ethel Merman hairstyle. Yeah.
It's copyrighted now.
Now, there's some actors that have since gone on to great prominence, and some of you will be aware of this, some of you might be surprised to learn. So the air traffic controller is checking the radar range and says, what an asshole was...
That was
Jonathan Banks.
Banks, who later went on to be Mike on Breaking Bad.
Better Call Saul. Yeah.
Did you guys know that?
Yeah!
Is that incredible?
And you know, we had the same law firm, so they just suggested, how about Jonathan Banks? So you guys did.
And then the great James Hung, who doesn't even have a line, who is in Everything Everywhere All at Once, plays the Japanese general who commits every
That's
killing.
right, yeah. Who knew?
All right, one more actor, and then I'm going to get to some audience questions here in a moment. What about the actress who is trying to apply her makeup throughout the film?
Oh, she was great. Yeah, I slept with her. Oh, I should explain. That's my mom.
That's
I think that just made it worse.
I meant when I was 2.
Well, you were only like a few months old.
Right, yeah. No, but you know, well, 2-year-old is aware of a lot of things. You know, I showed my son, Charles, Airplane.
At 2.
At 2, and all he could talk about was the boobies. And after that, we started watching softcore porn together. Well, I mean, for him, it was food. Yeah, that's right.
All right, let's get to some audience questions, because you guys submitted some good questions.
Move on to something else.
We're going to cut that in post, too.
Yeah.
Believe me. Although the college kids may like it, I don't know. All right. This is from Stephen, pronounced Stephen. That's what it says. Where are you, Stephen?
I'm up here.
Okay, hi, Stephen. It says, your work is often cited as one of the greatest comedies of all time. Did you know it would be while filming?
No, we just wanted it to be a hit so we could do another movie. And, but you know, we were very confident about Airplanes. We have been telling everybody for 5 years, please, you know, do this movie. It's going to be a big hit. So when it was a big hit, we weren't really surprised. But what was surprising is in the years since, you know, how it's just still funny and people love it, and it's just that's been amazing. And so, like, I get to do this, so this is fun, where I get a lot of attention.
There was a group of us standing, it started about 4 or 5 of us, and John Davis, our line producer, and Hunt Lowry was associate producer, and a couple other guys, and what had been happening is we showed the dailies, and normally in the dailies, I think with studios, especially with some films, they'll say, you know, to the secretary or their assistant, you go watch it, would you tell me what it is? I've got to brush my teeth or something, because some of them aren't very exciting. But with Airplane, they were having to show them over and over, like 4 times, because everybody in the studio wanted to get in and see him. So we're standing there in that little circle, and a young kid, 20s, mid-20s, and he was a small part or an extra or something. He comes jumping up to the thing and says, "Hey, boy, I hear this thing is really going great. Could be a big hit." And of course, inside what you're thinking is, wow, this thing could be like a cult film on a college campus. That would be really cool. And then you think, well, maybe it could be a little more. And then you start just not thinking about it at all, because you don't want to exit. So this guy comes walking up and he says, "Wow, I hear this thing is really good. They say it's going to be a big hit." And everyone turned and walked away. It started kind of trying to get, but you don't want to think about that. You don't want to put a hex on it. So that was it, paying attention to it, not thinking about what kind of a hit it could be. If you knew that, you would control the world, by the way, wherever you are.
What was it like for you guys when it did blow up and became the monster hit? I mean, I remember, this is back in the days when, you know, Jaws and Star Wars, and when films became these kinds of real blockbusters. I mean, I remember standing in line for kind of a long time to get into Airplane.
Well, Bob and I would go to these theaters and just sit in the back and watch. We'd stand in the back and watch. We love to see the reaction.
I was shell-shocked in a fun way, in a good way. And I mean, it was so exciting. I had friends calling me up and saying, "Hey, we went to see a movie the other night and the trailer for your film was playing." And I said, "What, for Airplane?" They said, "Yeah." And they said, "Those are all the jokes, right?" And I said, "No." And it just broke the records everywhere, box offices, every theater it played across the country. It was crazy. It was really something.
All right, so here's a question. It's a person didn't put their name on it, but it says, "To Robert Hays, did you get water up your nose or any place interesting in the beach scene?"
Yes. That was a 10,000-gallon tank. And it was down at Sunset Beach, I think at the end of Zuma, the south end of Zuma. And Julie and I were positioned just below it, and they dropped the flap in the middle of it, pump it full from the rather chilly water, and fill it up, and then release the flap, and it just gushed over us for the close-up. And water got in the eyelids, and in, you know, your lips and ears, and everything. And it was pretty crazy. I mean, it was not comfortable. And I never noticed until the end when I kind of leaned up. There was a catfish right there. That's a freshwater fish.
It's a live catfish here.
Flopping around right next to me.
This is from Danilo from Odessa in the Ukraine. Am I saying your name right?
Yes.
Okay, good. How did humor in cinema change since Airplane? Many jokes are not appropriate for today. If you were filming Airplane in 2025, what would you do differently?
Well, I get asked a lot that question, could you do Airplane today? And I always say, of course we could, just without the jokes. Because, things have gotten more sensitive. I think audiences are fine. I trust audiences. I mean, there's always 9% of people who maybe don't have a sense of humor or let something else intrude. But, the main thing is that today, in 2025, it's the studio boardrooms who are, probably keeping comedies from being made because they're frightened. So you get, there's no good movie comedy these days. There's
I go back to the Apatow quote from this book. I think you could make that movie today if you had Zucker, Abrams, and Zucker making it, because you have to be funny enough.
Well, we had a script for Naked Gun 4. We called it Naked Gun 4, Nordberg did it. And it wasn't even set in an LA cop station. We always want to do something new. So
it's an indication how good it would have gone over.
Yeah, so it would have been like Mission Impossible, international espionage thriller, and it would have been the son of Frank Drebin, but would have been a younger actor like in his 30s, low 30s, like Andy Samberg or something. But you can't go back and do the same thing over again. You have to. You need fresh ideas. So then, should I mention? I mean, they just did a Naked Gun 4, but they didn't use. We had our script, they liked it, and then Seth MacFarlane came in and did. And he brought in Liam Neeson. His idea was to try to recreate this 40-year-old idea of Naked Gun with the aging cop. You can't replace Leslie Nielsen. So, but these are, the director met with me at my house twice, and Seth MacFarlane called me, and these are nice people, and they mean well, and they idolize Naked Gun and Airplane and Top Secret, but it's a little bit like, Seth MacFarlane, he's like a crazed psychotic serial killer. So I love you, so I must kill you. So he pretty much killed the franchise, because they love it so much. Which
well, the mention of Nordberg leads me to our next question from Jan from Tacoma. What was it like directing O.J. Simpson?
I don't want to talk about it. Go to the next card.
Okay. The next card says, answer the last question.
All right, I'll just say this about that whole thing. The last I saw OJ was at the wrap party for Naked Gun 33 1/3. I said goodbye, shook hands. I sold him my knife collection, and I never saw him again. That was it. I never wanted to talk about it again.
His acting was like his murdering. I mean, he got away with it, but nobody believed him.
Shaw from Buffalo, am I saying your name right? Where is Otto now?
Well, besides, actually, it's in my brother's basement.
Really?
Yeah, he actually has the original Otto.
Wow.
Yeah, hidden away, and it's in pretty good shape. And someday the Smithsonian will get it. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
All right. This is from Peter from Tacoma. Peter?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, you're right there. Okay. Did the script start out with the goal of extreme joke density, or did that evolve over time during the writing process?
It started out with the extreme joke density because this came from our doing our Kentucky Fried Theater show, and Jim and Jerry and I were actors in it. Acting is not our first talent, so we never wanted to be up on stage when there weren't jokes. So that live show was just joke.
I mean, pound for pound, that is like the most jokes in any film ever.
I think there was literally a couple of British scientists that did that, and they went through and they were going through all the comedies, the big top comedies.
That's why we have no cure for cancer.
Right.
This is the scientists. Let's see how many jokes are in there.
And it had more jokes per second than any film in history.
Yes. All right, Bobby from North Bend. Bobby, where are you? Bobby? No? All right. Well, you should take credit for this. This is a fantastic question. Huh? Do you know what became of the topless lady in the panic scene?
I recently found out who she was, actually. Somebody named Kitten Natividad. And she was a pretty good.
She was like a Russ Meyer star, right?
Yeah, Russ Myers, yeah. And my son and I spent many happy hours watching her.
All right. Paula from Maryland asks, Top Secret is one of my favorite movies. A few people agree with Paula. Do you have any stories you want to share from the making of that film?
Oh, there's many great stories. I can't remember any right now, but Val was great to work with. He was moody a lot, and then we figured out that maybe it was because we didn't give him a character in that. So, and we kind of learned from Top Secret. And Omar Sharif, I got to work with Omar Sharif. He was in Lawrence of Arabia and all these
Dr.
Zhivago, all these things. So we were totally blown away by it, got to direct Omar Sharif. And so about 3 or 4 weeks into filming, we organized this huge party in his honor at Hunt Lowry's flat. And we were doing it in London, and we were in South Kensington. And we prepared all the finest wines because he knew, he was a connoisseur of everything, the finest foods, and he never showed up.
Did you think that the humor would still be appreciated so many years later?
Well, I don't think we even thought about it. We just were happy that the movie was a hit. And but I think I mentioned before, we never dreamed that it would still be this appreciated all these years later. And I think I don't know why.
If something's funny, it's funny. And I don't know, I'm sure that a lot of you people like older films too. And I love the films in the 20s and 30s and 40s. And there are scenes that are just so well done that you can't help it. It grabs you by surprise and it makes you laugh. And that's the thing about this, is the boys were perfect. It's capturing lightning in a bottle. They wrote the thing so funny, the timing was perfect, but they were the ones, like when David said they knew they wanted to direct it, they had to be the ones to direct it, and they really did, because anybody else, even a really, really great director, they would have made it polished and whatever, and some stuff maybe funny. But these guys knew exactly what they wanted. It was in their mind, they knew, and they had the timing for it. And that's why it's lasted so long, I think. Because funny is just funny.
And my favorite gags from it really are timeless, and I always think of that one scene with Leslie talking to Lorna Patterson and saying, "How are you bearing up?" And she says, "Well, I'm scared. I've never been so scared." and besides, I'm 26 and I'm not married. And she's like, and then the other lady comes in and he says, how you been? She says, I'm scared. I've never been so scared, but at least I have a husband. And, you know, nobody's trying to be funny. It was all done in one shot. There was no coverage, and that's always going to be funny. A joke like that.
I think about one of my favorite scenes in the film is, and it's just funny because it's done so well. The timing's so great, and they're so serious about it, which is the key ingredient, one of the key ingredients, and that's Peter and Leslie behind the cockpit. How long before you can land this plane? I can't tell you. You can tell me. I'm a doctor. Well, can't you take a guess? Not for 3 hours. You can take a guess for 3 hours. No, I mean, it was so serious, and it was one of those. It was like a Who's on Third or something. But it was timeless, and that I still think that Abbott and Costello's Who's on Third, especially when you see the earliest ones of it, are hilarious, and I think this is going to stay funny. That scene is one of the examples in Airplane that it's just going to stay funny.
Absolutely. Anyway, guys, I know we are out of time. Thank you so much for coming. Please join us. I'd love to take a selfie with everybody who came out for this. This is the first time I've done this with these guys, and this has been just a great job. So, take a selfie with all of you. Cheers, Mike. Thank you all so much.